All right, so we're in 15 of Nisan, and we are Tafshinayim and we are learning Shmuel Aleph, chapter 8, verse 6. And we had, last time we were discussing at length the original commandment, the original discussion in the Torah as to how to appoint a king and under what conditions and what and how. And from the text it seems that it's okay to do. You know, the people requests, there is even an opinion that it's a commandment when we get into the land of Israel. There are 3 mitzvot. The first one is to appoint a king. So we're in the land for now 400 years or so, you know. So it's okay. You know, why is the verse that we are about to read, which we read last time again as well, but let's just read it again. When the what? No. וירא הדבר בעיני שמואל כאשר אמרו תנה לנו מלך לשפטנו ויתפלל שמואל אל השם. That the Jewish people, when Shmuel was old and his sons were not following fully in his footsteps, they were a little bit off with their priorities, they asked to give us a king to judge us. And Shmuel really didn't like it. He thought it's a terrible idea. And we will see in the next verses, long verses, why. He told them straight up why he doesn't think is a good idea. The truth is that he doesn't tell them why he doesn't think it's a good idea. That's what we're going to discuss now. He's telling them why they shouldn't, why they should think it's a good idea, which is different than why he thought it's a good idea. So there are, most of the commentaries are discussing it and talking about it, and there are many different opinions and different angles. I'll try to sort of put it all together in a sort of a little bit of each. So why do we need a king? Why do people, any nation, why do they need a king? So they want the king to unite them, right? To unite them under one flag. They were looking for consistency in the power because the judges were each one from a different tribe, from a different family, it's a different animal, you know, each one of the judges. And they were looking for consistency. And a king also have absolute power. That's why nations select a king. So why? But the people of Israel are a little different. So let's see how. So there is one opinion that there are 3 things why people would ask for a king. They want to be someone who will save them from the enemies. That's number 1. Number 2, someone who is going to set the laws of the land, you know, executive orders, you know, what to do, how to do, decrees, you know, how much you should pay for water, you know.
A judge couldn't do that?
What?
A judge like Shmuel couldn't do that?
A judge could have had some rules, but not the same way. A judge does not really get involved with civil society. They deal with the laws of Torah. You know, they don't tell you what the speed limit is going to be. A king can tell you what the speed limit is going to be. And the third one is to be able to rule, to punish those who does not follow the rules. You know, people who make their own rules, so a king can punish them. Now, so this is for any nation. But Shmuel felt that for the Jewish nation, we don't need any of them. The issue with the milchamot, with the wars, God is fighting for us. In the past 400, 40 years since we got out of Egypt, right? God was really running the show. Whenever there was a problem, if we acted as we should, God sent someone to save us. Miracles upon miracles, some bigger miracles, some smaller miracles, some bigger miracles. But God was running the show. And Shmuel felt that, what are you replacing now? You're replacing now acts of God. You're replacing now all the miracles with some, human being that will decide laws and, will pave the way based on how we woke up in the morning. Yeah, it's a totally different way of operating on a miracle basis and operating, with the normal natural way. He also felt that the judges are doing a pretty good job on creating a civil society by following the Torah rules. So yes, the Torah does not say one shall drive 55 miles an hour, but the Torah is giving us enough direction and enough barriers, and in order to run our lives properly. And the shoftim also have the authority to punish those who doesn't follow it. And the feeling was that, what are we replacing now? We're replacing a system that can be a perfect system, which it is a perfect system if you just follow it, with something inferior. Now, the Hasidic interpretation of that is even more interesting. The Tzemach Tzedek, the third Lubavitcher Rebbe, wrote a whole recitation about this, and he mentioned, I'll just mention a couple of main points. He said that there are two types of people in a nation. You have people that are pious people that go by that keeps the rules properly, and you have people that are not, that are just like us, that do have all kinds of vices and all kinds of desires and all kinds of defects, minor defects here and there, and all of the reasons that we need a king. We would need a king to keep us straight, and there is another interpretation why we need a king. We need a king in order to go to follow God's lead, to be nullified to God. Because if you nullify to a human being, it's easier, because the human being is here. You can you understand who you're afraid of. You have a fear. So convert that to a fear of God. If the king is God-fearing man, so he is fearing God and nullified to God, and you nullify to him, so it's like he's a conduit for that kind of reaction. And so, which one of the two groups of people that live in a nation needs it? The hoodlums? No. I mean, the hoodlums need it, but the pious people would never need it, because they themselves would be God-fearing people. They would not need to look at the puppet, so to speak, or to look at the kid, to look at the human being as a conduit. They themselves can plug in, and in order to keep the law of the land, the Torah, the pious people also do it on their own. Only the ones that are not so pious will need it. Shmuel was hoping and was seeing the process. He was seeing how it's about to happen, where we all going to rise to the occasion, and we're all going to be the upper class. We're all going to become pious people. We're all going to become people that God can trust, so to speak. And therefore, we won't need a king. But obviously, the people were not seeing that far, and were not didn't have the vision or the motivation or the understanding that they can get there, and they asked for a king. Now, what's the problem with the king? The kings caused, in a way, a lot more harm than good. We had kings King Saul, King David, King Solomon, right? Throughout that time, the people stayed as one people, as one nation. Since our forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, till King Solomon, we were one people. King Solomon's son, as soon as King Solomon died, there was a split in the nation, and the king that Yerovam, that took the other side, that took the 10 tribes, made sure that to lead them in a wrong path, he didn't even let them go up to the temple. What kind of a king is that? How is that helping the Jewish people if you bar them from going to shul? If you bar them from going to Bet HaMikdash, and the 10 tribes ended up being lost. Now even the other, and even the other kings, the other side, the Malchut Yehuda, the kingdom of Judah, also ended up in exile. That's why we're here now, right? So the kings really didn't work out for a long period of time. They were.
You paint such a rosy picture, but even before the kings, the tribes were fighting among themselves. Before
Before the king, the tribes, they were only one real situation where the tribes were fighting, the Pilegesh Bagiva. And that was a terrible, terrible thing that happened. It happened already about 100 years before where we are now, maybe it's 80 years before where we are now. It's a terrible thing, but it's not. It was a fluke, so to speak. It wasn't a common occurrence. Now, even Moshe, after awarding arranging with God that Aaron will be the Kohen, Moshe asked to be a king. And God says, no, for the king you have the rabbis, you have the shoftim, you have the Supreme Court, the Sanhedrin, the High Sanhedrin, 71 people, right? We're sitting in Beit HaMikdash, adjacent to Beit HaMikdash, not in the holy part of Beit HaMikdash, because most of them were Israelim and they were not allowed in. So there was a big section, it's called Lishkat HaGazit. It was beautiful, beautiful marble, beautiful section that it has inside it's round like an amphitheater, a Roman amphitheater. And they were sitting there, and from the place they got the authority. They got, you got the feeling that the place is run by God because, it's right there next to Bet HaMikdash. And here, the temple was never right adjacent. It was, a few blocks away or in another part of the city. It was never the same. It was like another center of power, which... Who needs a center of power other than the Bet HaMikdash when you have Bet HaMikdash, when you have... Now, the kings, as we learned last time, were warned that they have to keep straight. They have to keep 2 Sifrei Torah, two scrolls, one in their home, in their palace, in their treasury, so it's guarded, and one that will go with them all the time. Why? Because if they're not kept on their toes, kings are very easily, thinking that they're it, and they don't need any guidance, and it's very easy when everybody is bowing down and when everybody is listening to you, or where you have Secret Service running in front of your car. It's very easy to feel good about yourself and start. So they needed something to guard them from it. The judges, who were the whole halachot of judges, were mentioned in the same exact part of the Torah, in the same exact portion of the Torah, and they were not told that you have to walk around with a book, because that's what the rabbi does anyway. Now, the commandment, according to some, the commandment of anoint a king according to some, is an optional commandment. It's not a must. So if there is a situation that you need a king, then you should elect one. But it's like a Nazarite. You're not really allowed to be. You shouldn't be doing this. But if someone decided to go that path, so there is a whole section in the Torah. That's the law, and there are many other such rules that don't command you to be a Nazir. You just, if it happens, this is what you follow. So the same thing with the king. Now, the truth is that all of those things are okay, but I still, in my heart, I didn't really feel satisfied until this next section. And that really, who is supposed to be the king? From which tribe? Tribe of Judah, right? Judah. And that's what Jacob said, right? Yaakov said that the king, right? It's going to be Yehuda.
Until the blessings of his son.
Right. Until Yehuda took office, it was the time of Joseph to be the king. And he was the king in Egypt. And we have the Haftarah that discusses how they come together and the spiritual power struggle of the influence of Yehuda versus the influence of Yosef. And Yoshua was from the tribe of Yosef. And here we have the first king was from the tribe of Binyamin. Why? It was very odd. I never really understood it. Why in the world? So this is what I found yesterday. It wasn't the time yet. There was the tribe of Binyamin needed to bake a little longer. We needed to find of Yehuda. We needed to find the right person from the tribe of Yehuda that is ready to be a king. And that was the first one was David, right? But at this point in history, David was a little young. He was just born. He was not bar mitzvah yet. He wasn't ready. And so what was so Shmuel felt that it's coming. He sees the people. He sees who is involved, who is available, and he feels that the time is coming soon for the right king, for the king that is the permanent king. But David was too young. So they elected Saul for 3 years. For a very short period of time. They elected Saul. And Saul was just a placeholder. A placeholder. It says, one of the psukim that says that he is not really called a king in all places. There is one place that's called Nagid. Nagid means someone who is in charge. He was put in charge. Here are the keys. Take it for But as soon as he did something wrong, he was out. If anyone from
Acting king.
what?
An acting king.
Acting king, right? If any, we had plenty situations where someone from the family of David did something wrong, and the keys were not taken away. Because once it's awarded to it's to the tribe of Judah. This is it. It belongs to them. But Shaul was, and his name. What is Shaul? Shaul means borrowed. Shaul was borrowed as a placeholder. Blew my mind when I saw it. Sorry. Now. So what Shmuel realized is that it's not really that they want a king. They just didn't want God's rule, the way God wants to rule it. The way God wants to rule the Jewish people. That's what they didn't want. They did not want judges who can just give them what the halakha is. And how many rabbis in history had really power over their people in an absolute way. Other than the Hasidic rabbis, it wasn't that way. You always had another shul that you can go to, in case you didn't like the speech last Shabbos. Always. The Jew, when they come to an island, they always build two shuls, one that they go to, one that they never step foot in. So it's very, if we were to do what we were supposed to do, we would listen to the rabbi. We would listen to what he tells us, but we don't want to. Okay, so that's what that's
Weren't
that's
the people satisfied with Shmuel?
that's the point. Shmuel was one of the most revered judges, the most revered judge after Moshe Rabbeinu. The most revered judge, that were all Nahu Acharab, we said before, they were all following him. So what's your problem? Because he's a little old, so ask him to find someone like him. Ask him to find, a replacement that is of his stature. What are you telling him? You now give me a king now. As if you know better than Shmuel what's good for you.
Is Shmuel seeing both the bad and the good that's coming at the same time?
Yes,
in the future?
yes, he will tell them. He will tell them that the time will come that they will say, just take this king away from us, and by then it's sorry, your son, it's already a done deal.
Could they have made it a non-hereditary king?
What?
Could they have made it a non-hereditary king?
That's not how it works. A king is hereditary. That's if the king keeps that's the law. That's it has to be from the family of David nowadays. Now,
But back then, could they have decided just to make it, just like the judges weren't hereditary, they couldn't make it.
they can't
the
make you can't make your own way of governing. Your own system of government. That's what the communists started, and it didn't work. So you can't. The Jews cannot just. We have judges or we have kings. That's what's available.
David wasn't the son of Saul.
Exactly, because Saul was just a placeholder. He was not really the one that was supposed to be there for a long time. And there was a problem with and this is another interesting thing, there was a problem with the sons of Shmuel. They were not that terrible like the sons of Eli, but they were not, and part of what they did, because people did not have respect for them, they had a lot of clerks, a lot of court clerks that were sitting there and fulfilling the needs to invite people to court, and people wouldn't come because it didn't, because it's just a rabbi, just a judge that I don't care for. And it took some time, so they needed multiple clerks and multiple invitations or how do you call the subpoenas, summonses. And the people, what the people didn't like is that it's costing them money, because the court clerk is paid from the communal money, right? So it was too costly for them, and they didn't like it. That was one of the main things that the people didn't like with the sons of Shmuel. And Shmuel is telling him, you don't want to pay for a couple of court clerks? Wait, how much a king will cost you? You'll see, it's going to cost you an arm and a leg and a firstborn, and more. And that's what we'll learn soon.
Was there a system of taxation?
Yes. The king is. We'll touch it.
Under Shmuel.
Under Shmuel, there is. There are always. They set one of the things that. The 10% was for what? Yeah, that was for the Kohanim and Levim, but they set system of government of some kind, but it wasn't consistent. It was still baking. It took 400 years to put together, and positions were added, and laws were made, and the rabbis added fence here and a fence there and a limitation here and there, and just to keep the people together. So there was a system. It was evolving. It didn't come, as in one shot. And the final idea that I saw is that one of the things that they that they asked for, and that's why they asked the way they asked to be judged according to modern times. their modern times. They wanted a modern king. They didn't want an old rabbi that will tell them stories from 440 years ago. They want something fresh, something, social media, They wanted a rabbi that would tweet. A rabbi would not tweet, so let's get a king that tweets, That's basically what they were asking for. And it brings here an interesting story of what happened with an example. The perfect king that we had was King David, right? There is a story of Natan Navi. That was the prophet de jour of the time that was working with David. After David sent this man to the battle and took his wife because he liked her. So he sent him to the battle and he died. So Natan Navi didn't like it at all. And came to him and told him, let me tell you a story, King David. That there was a poor man and a rich man. And the rich man had everything he wanted, and he had cattle galore. And the poor man had one lamb. And that lamb was his, pride and joy. And the lamb was eating from his stable. It was like it was with the lamb. And then someone came to visit, and the rich man wanted to honor that person with a lamb, and he took the poorest man's lamb and fed it to this guest instead of taking whatever he had, which is many, many times more. So Natan Navi was telling him that as a story that happened, and he right away rendered a verdict. David, he was very angry that this man is going to have to pay 4 times. Now, 4 times is not the law of Torah. If somebody steals, the law of Torah is 2. But he was very, very angry, and he said 4 times. Now, a king is allowed for a short period of time, not override the Torah, but supplement it. If he feels that something need fixing, so he can levy taxes and for whatever infractions, he can do whatever he wants. So even David, our best king, had this problem that he does something more than what the Torah is telling is costing us. It ended up that because he uttered those words, he lost 4 children. Amnon and Avshalom and Tamar and one that's called just the Yeled. He lost 4 children on account of that, just because he uttered those words. You said that's the law, okay, so it's on you. It's terrible, terrible. But we see that the problem is, and the problem is lying here in 2 words. Tna lanu melech leshaftenu. Give us a king to judge us. Judging, a judge does, right? Why do you need a king to do judging? So that was the problem. They really didn't want the laws that the judges produced, which is the laws of Torah, and they wanted a king. They wanted something else, and that's why Shmuel was very, very upset with them. So, but Shmuel prayed to God. He prayed to God that they'll change their mind. He prayed to God that God will give him the right way of handling this Meshugas. So what did he say? Vayomer Hashem el Shmuel. So God answered his prayer and says, Shma b'kol ha'am, you should listen to them. Lekol asher yimru lecha, to everything that they tell you. Why? Because it's not that they're dissing you as a judge, as an old judge, that they don't like, they don't want you to select the next judge. It's not you, it's me. Ki lo otcha ma'asu. It's not that they're sick and tired of you, that they're disgusted with you. Ki oti ma'asu mimloch aleim. They don't want me, King Hashem, to be their God. And how do we know that? ככל המעשים אשר עשו מיום העלותי אותם ממצרים ועד היום הזה, because all of the miracles, all of the deeds, everything that I did for them, for the people, from the time they left Egypt, I conducted this nation with my rule, with the rule of miracles, the godly rule, everything that I gave them. And from the time that they left Egypt, we were never a lot of people. In those days, we were like 2-3 million people. It's not a lot. And the nations around us were always way more and way more equipped. We learned several times that they had chariots, they had iron that they made weapons with, and we had nothing. We had a kugel. We just can't fight with a kugel. Kugel's okay. So, and nonetheless, vayazvuni, they left me. Vayavdu Elohim acherim. They worshipped other gods. Ken hema osim gam lecha. That's what they're doing to you too. And this is one of the best generations that, a few sentences before we learned that they want the best generations. But they want something new. They want modernity. They don't want the old judge. They don't want the rule of God. They just want to make their own laws. Ve'ata. So this is one of the reasons God provided. He created the people and He knows how we act. So He provided in the Torah for the eventuality that something like that will happen.
But there's a difference between not wanting the judges and worshipping other gods. Were they really, or?
So worshipping other gods, anything which is not 100% God is other gods. The Zohar is dividing the world to like a black and white cookie. There is the side of the kedusha and sitra achra, the side which is not. There is very little parve in the middle. That there is, according to the real law, there is no real middle way that you can. It's okay. It's really, if it's not holy, it's not.
So you're saying if your reform, as in today's reform, you're not following all Torah exactly as it is written. You're worshipping other gods?
I would probably think it would fall into that, but I don't want to create controversies.
Because of the high level they're on.
Exactly. They had, by the way, we were mentioning that a whole bunch of kings took the people off the derech. None of the judges, even the ones that was considered the least, holy judge, which is Iftach, right? Because he was basically a gang leader before he was recruited to be a judge. And then God, came and lifted his spirit and made him something more than any of us can be. The Midrash is saying that Iftach beturo Shmuel bedoro, that in that generation, Iftach was the top of the line. Now Shmuel is considered like Moshe Rabbeinu. So imagine the people who received the Torah, the Dor De'ah, the people who heard from God's words directly, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. Their leader was Moshe, and Shmuel was equal to him. So the people were also at a high level. So when they started saying, you know what, we just want, we want a 2019 king, that's already Elokim Acherim, Elohim Acherim. It's already not good. So what does God send a message with Shmuel back? Ve'ata shma b'kolam. Did we finish that? Yeah. Ve'ata shma b'kolam. You should listen to them. You should listen to them, but you have to tell them. You have to read them the Miranda rights. You have to tell them exactly. Ve'ata achayed ta'id bahem. You should testify in front of them. You should tell them. V'igata lahem, and you should tell them mishpat hamelech, the laws of kings. Mishpat, what is the law? What can king do? What's the right? What the right of the king? Because they didn't know. They didn't have a king until now. It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new beast. So they thought, a king is a young judge with an Armani suit. No, it's a different thing. It has a lot more power, and it has a lot more liability. And it's a more severe way of running the country. Asher imloch aleim, right? So if we look, we're not going to read it here, but the Rambam, the last section of the Rambam is called Ilchot Melachim, the laws of kings. And a lot of what Shmuel is telling the Jews at that time that kings will do, the Rambam makes it that's the halacha. So we know that that's really the halacha. Now, what's interesting is that one of the main things is the name of the halachot. The Rambam does not call it Ilchot Melachim. This is what we call it. Rambam calls it Hilchot Melachim u'milchamotehem. The deeds of kings and their wars. Why? Because kings do wars that are their wars, not only God's wars. They pick a fight in order to make the nation better, in order to make their name better, in order to look better. They are just very expensive. To have a king, it's an expensive proposition. It's you need to have 750 rooms in Buckingham Palace. It's a lot of money. So let's go in. This is a piece which is long. We're going to start. We're not going to finish it, but we're going to be able to see some of the issues, some of the rights of a king. ויאמר שמואל את כל דברי השם אל העם השואלים מעמו מלך. So Shmuel repeated everything that God told him for all of those people who are asking for a king. ויאמר, and he told them, זה יהיה משפט המלך. That is the laws of the king. אשר ימלוך עליכם, that is going to be your king. First and foremost, we said, your firstborn. Voila. את בניכם ייקח. He's going to take your kids. What is going to do with the kids? ושם לו במרכבתו. And he's going to put those kids in his limousine, in his chariot. And those kids are going to be, honoring him, servicing him, working. They're not going to be able to take out the garbage for you. They're not going to be able to go to shop right for you. They're going to be with the king. ובפרשיו, and they're going to be the king's riders. ורצו לפני מרכבתו, and they're going to run in front of him. This is what happens today. You have whenever when the car goes slowly, right? You have the Secret Service running in front. It used to be the more people, the more foot soldiers that run in front of the king, the bigger the king is. And the story goes that the time of Avshalom, that one of the first things that he did when he wanted to dethrone his father, he wanted to take over for his father David, he took 50 people that will run in front of it. That's the first thing, first order of business. Give me 50 people to run in front of me. And then he is also allowed, ולשום לו שרי אלפים ושרי חמישים. The king has the right to mandate to people that they're going to work for the government. Can you imagine? Okay, you're going to work for the EPA and you're going to work for the Justice Department. He can force them to work for the government. He's going to pay them, but he's going to force them to work for the government. ולחרוש חרישו, and he's going to make them work his land. Now, he can pay them, but you never know if it's really for the purpose of the people or for his own purposes. The border gets very, very blurry very quickly. You don't know what it's for. So ולחרוש חרישו ולקצור קצירו, and we see that David, the דברי הימים is telling us that David had an agriculture minister. He had a guy who was in charge of all the land that belongs that he decided to take from the Jews and work it. Now, the land was not a lot of the land in the land of Israel at the time was not attended to because you had only 2 million people. So you have maybe a third of them is men. It's not a lot of people so they didn't need it. So, but when the king came about, he saw a bunch of land that's available. So he took it. And what else will he tax you people? ולעשות כלי מלחמתו וכלי רכבו. He's also going to force you to work in his ammunition factory, to create swords, to create arrows, and to fix his cars and all of his chariots. So he had a big You know, Jay Leno had a big garage with a lot of cars. You need you need a lot of people to fix all the cars and to maintain them. ואת בנותיכם ייקח לרקחות ולטבחות ולעופות. And your daughters he's going to take to create perfumes and to cook and to bake. And all of those things are free now because a judge doesn't get it. You know, a rabbi, as big as a rabbi is, they don't need all of that stuff. You know? They need, you know, they get what they need, but this is crazy, you know. ואת סתודכם ואת כרמכם וזיתכם הטובים ייקח ונתן לעבדיו, and all of the good stuff, all of the good produce that you grow. So you came up with a great, I made a very good carrot, amazing field of carrot. He can come and take it as a tax. No, there is absolutely nothing you can tell him. He can pay for it, but he can take it. And וזיתכם וכרמכם יעשור ונתן לסריסיו ולעבדיו, and we're going to finish with that. And he's going to take, now, some of the stuff that he takes is not for, for his table, and is not for dignitaries that come to visit him. Is for his people, for his the government workers. So imagine, someone comes and to your home and you created something beautiful and say, you know what, take it. I want the local IRS guy to use it. How would you feel? That's exactly what was happening. And Shmuel was warning them. We'll finish with the warning next time.